Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing an eyeshadow palette review. I have the newest Mcgrath Mothership palette here, and I just received it today, so I thought we would open it up, do some swatches, just talk about it, try it on, and let you guys know my thoughts on this one. It is called the Mothership Sunlit Seduction palette, and I was kind of mixed if I was going to pick this up or not, but I decided to go ahead and grab it. Here is a look at the all over packaging, and then here, and then opening it up, here is what this one looks like and all of the colors inside. So this is a very rosy kind of blush type of palette. I know Mcgrath does a lot of these kind of palettes in her line. She seems to love the pinks and golds, which so do I. This actually looks so much prettier in person, and even though it does look similar to some of her palettes, the reason I decided to pick it up is because it kind of looks like the original Divine Rose, which is actually one of my favorite palettes from her, but maybe a better version of that. So that's why I picked it up. Honestly, I know people are all about her super glittery shades and the sparkle ones. I don't really love those the most because I feel like they get fallout and you always have to use a glitter glue. And these look like they would be more just metallic shimmers, so I really wanted to try this one out. I will spend a little bit more on a good quality palette that has everyday neutrals because that is what I wear for the most on day to day. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into this palette. So this launched on Mcgrath's site. Officially, the launch was yesterday. They kind of launched it a little early a couple times, so I was able to get it a couple days before, and they actually did ship it very fast, which is, I feel like, unusual. Maybe they've gotten better at their shipping. I remember it used to be very slow, but mine came pretty quick. Now, the Mothership palettes are definitely not cheap. They usually do a 10% off code with each launch, which this time they're using the code Sunlit10, which I'll have down below. I don't know if that only works on launch day or if it still works after, so you'll have to give it a try because I always recommend saving a little bit on these palettes. Mcgrath does do a lot of sales, but it does take a little bit of time before her new releases do go on sale. So the first shade in the palette is called Skin Tense Radiance, and this is such a stunning champagne color. I could see this one being a shade I'll use all the time on the lid. I love a good brightening shimmer like this one, and it's super creamy and smooth. Not too glittery, but you can definitely see the glow and shine this one gives. Next up we have Nude Rose, which is the pink matte in the palette. I thought this one swatched really well. Great pigmentation, just a true pinky rose. We have another gorgeous shimmer called Hypnotic Bronze. I love bronze eyeshadow for every single day. I feel like it's such a flattering color for any skin tone. This one doesn't have a ton of sparkle or anything like that. It just gives a nice shine. This next shade is my favorite shade in the palette. This is Astral Pink Fetish. Honestly, I'm glad I bought this palette just for this shade, just how stunning it is. It is gorgeous metallic pink with gold glitter. I guess it's one of their astral colors. Usually I don't like the Mcgrath glitters because I find them to be flaky, but this one is actually super creamy and smooth. I definitely won't need a glitter glue with this one. It just melted right onto my skin. Next is Blitz Crimson Ecstasy. So this is another Blitz shade. Again, gonna have that gorgeous metallic shine that melts onto the skin. You won't need a glitter glue with, and that's kind of a fun burgundy shimmer. Another matte in the palette. This one is Extreme Vermilion Dusk. This one I feel like swatched a little bit hard. I feel like it's maybe a little bit harder pressed because it is maybe more of that almost pressed pigment type of shadow, but this is going to be the deepest matte in the palette to kind of build some depth with your looks. Next we have Copper Dawn. I love this shade. To me it's a bronzy color. It's a lot lighter than the Hypnotic Bronze in the palette, and it offers a lot more shine and shimmer. Definitely a go-to shade I think for me. Another matte in the palette, this one is called Sienna Mystique. This will be a nice just crease color. It is just a nice warm brown. We have another Astral in the palette. This one is the Astral Amethyst Allure. Stunning color. This is like a smoky purple, beautiful glitters in here, and it was very creamy and smooth. And then we have another Astral color. This is the Astral Gilded Aura. This one I feel like wasn't as creamy as the other one, but I feel like it still is going to stay on the eyes without a glitter glue and I don't think it should give much fallout. It just didn't seem as smooth as the other ones did, but it is a stunning color and it's gonna look so glittery and pretty on the eyes. Just imagine pairing that one maybe on top of this bronze to add even more shimmer and dimension to the lid. I actually am so more impressed by this palette once I swatched everything together. I think this is going to be really good and I cannot wait to put it on the eyes. I will be doing some comparisons at the end as well, so stay tuned. But let's get into the look for today's video. Alright guys, let's prime. I'm going to use my Too Faced Shadow Insurance. This is just my favorite eye primer. I'm only going to be doing one look today just because I do not want to stress myself out. Sometimes if I try to do too many looks, it takes so much time. Like, I will be editing all night. I want to get this video up for you guys since this is a newer palette, but I just kind of want to do one look today, like a real wearable look. I'm not going to throw on a bunch of stuff on my eyes, but something that you guys can replicate at home. So let's go ahead and start. I'm going to use this rosy pink in the crease. I'm using my BK 211 brush. By the way, BK is having their anniversary sale right now, so I think most of their website is 20% off. And some bundles are even more discounted, so definitely check out their brushes. I really like this as a crease brush, especially if you guys have smaller eyes. This just gets right in there and works really well. It's not too fluffy. I should probably zoom you guys in. I feel like my lighting's a little dark today, but we're gonna work with it. It's just a little cloudy out. It's supposed to rain this weekend, which I'm hoping it does because we need some rain. But I'm just going to blend this into the crease. I feel like this is a matte shade I've seen a lot in pat palettes. I thought it swatched a little more pinky rose, but on me it looks more almost reddish toned in a way. So it's quite pigmented. I almost wish it was a little bit more blushy. In the crease, I'm taking my BK 202 brush, and we're going to use this kind of burgundy matte in the crease. I think this is the one that I had trouble swatching, but it's actually blending out fine to me. Like, I'm having no problems whatsoever. Some of her mattes I've experienced have felt a little dry in certain palettes, but I feel like this one feels pretty good. This is definitely a very red rosy look. I was expecting it to be a little bit more neutral, but we're rolling with it. Let's take this. It's kind of a warm peachy brown on the lower lash line a little bit. This is the BK 210. This is how I normally like to do my eyeshadow looks. I always start in the crease, build outer corner, and then lower lash line, you guys know. Alright, so I'm so excited to try. I have to try my favorite shade in the palette, of course, this sparkly pink. So let's get this on my lid. That is so stunning. I am going to go ahead and highlight my inner corner a bit using this color right here. I'm just going to add in just a little bit of that outer corner shade again, just so we don't lose that pigmentation with the glitter I put on top, because I do want to show a little more depth. I honestly kind of want to try putting this little bit of champagne just like a little more into the center, just to kind of brighten that up a little bit. With this look, I'm going in with a brown eyeliner. This is just a ColourPop one in Sunny Veil, I believe it's called. I'm mostly just putting this on the lower lash line. That's pretty much it for the eyes. That was actually super fast and easy. I am going to put the rest of my makeup on. I might do a little half lash today because I always love a good half lash. I just feel like it completes the look and really enhances the eyes. So I will be right back. So here's our finished look. I did kind of stick with the pink theme here. I did my cheeks with the blush and highlight in this Mcgrath and Bridgerton palette. I don't think you can get this one anymore, but the blush I used was the Nymphette, which I think is a regular shade. The highlight is Cherish. I don't know if they sell that one, but it's similar to a lot of their other highlighters. And then I threw on a Sigma liquid lip just to keep it very rosy toned. So this look actually came out a lot more pink than I thought. At least with the mattes, I was hoping they would pull a little more neutral, but they're still very rosy toned mattes. So not exactly what I was hoping for, but it is still a very gorgeous look. Now I kind of want to go over my final thoughts and of course do some comparisons with some of my other pat palettes in my collection, since this does look like a very repetitive color story. So let's get into that. So overall with the Sunlit Seduction, I'm really impressed with the quality of the shadows in this one. I think they're all really smooth, creamy. The mattes are great and they definitely feel like a luxury quality palette. Some pat palettes can be hit or miss with some mattes that are really almost powdery, hard to blend, but I thought this was great, and there's nothing that's overly glittery. I had zero fallout, so I'm really actually very happy with the quality, the pigment of this palette. I think my only gripe is just the mattes. I wish they were just a little bit more neutral toned. Like if this was like a chocolatey brown instead of this super warm matte, I think I would have liked that better. I just would like some more neutral tones here. Now, I do own quite a few pat palettes. I do not own all of them, but I found the most similar one to actually be the Utopian Dream palette. So let me go ahead and show you guys these side by side. This one came out, I think, a couple years ago. It wasn't last year, but I think it was the one before that. But here is what they look like side by side. As you can see, there is a lot of similarities here, and I find these to be so similar. I did go ahead and swatch them next to each other too, and you can tell the tones are almost exact. Like the mattes are practically the same in these palettes, besides the Utopian Dreams does have that brighter pop of orange. Now, I will say the Utopian Dreams has these glitters, which are chunky. They have a lot of fallout to them, and they're not my favorite to work with. I loved the shades though, so I've always kept it in my collection and I've used it. But I'm actually happy that this new palette, the Sunlit Seduction, has similar tones where these aren't chunky like that and they actually glide on the eyes. But the Utopian Dream is going to offer more of a glitter finish. This one just still offers shimmer and sparkle without getting any fallout on the eyes. So I actually like this new one better than Utopian Dreams, and I actually could see myself decluttering the Utopian Dreams in the near future, just because, you know, I'm always looking for kind of the best of the best. If Pat's going to put out a similar palette that I think is better, I'm probably going to keep the obviously better one. So I like to see improvements, but I just wish it was a little different, because these are so close. If you do own Utopian Dreams, it's probably not going to be worth it to pick this new one up. But if you guys don't have either, then I would actually go for the new Sunlit Seduction. Now, another one I wanted to compare it to that I thought was going to be more similar than it is. This is the original Divine Rose. So Divine Rose, it looks pretty similar side by side, but when you actually go in and swatch it, the Divine Rose, I actually like the matte selection so much more, and I feel like it leans a little cooler than this. It's not so pink. I feel like this is definitely the most wearable pat palette, and I still love it, and it's one of my most worn because you can do such neutral looks with it. Even though a lot of people think it's boring because it doesn't have as much shimmer and glitter, there is still some stunning shades in here, but you're not going to get like a ton of special glitters and metallics as you do get in this new one. But I think that these are actually quite different enough. Now, I know she did a Divine Rose 2 palette, which actually might be similar as well, and that one does lean a little more pink. I personally do not own that one, so I cannot compare it, but I could see that one being similar. Another similar one is actually this one that came out for Valentine's Day. You can actually find these at TJ Maxx right now. This is their Mothership Iconic Infatuation. I actually really liked this one when it came out, but I do actually feel like there is a quality difference. Like, I feel like these small palettes do not perform as well with the mattes as these big Motherships do. Which does make sense since these are a lot more expensive, but I've had Motherships that I don't think are that good of quality. But essentially I feel like this is a smaller version of this, and I feel like the shades are very dupeable within these palettes. Besides, this one has a little bit more of a cooler tone for the darker matte, which I like a little bit more, and it's not as sparkly as this Sunlit Seduction. Just for funsies, I pulled out my Mothership from last year. This one is the Moonlit Seduction, and this one is still, I think, by far my favorite one. This one was a little bit different last year just because it offered a little more cooler color scheme, so I'm not swatching these next to each other because they're definitely not the same. But this one still had some of those rosy mattes in it. It's just, you can kind of see a pattern here, and I know Pat gets mad at people that mention that, but I feel like we keep asking for something different and we're not really getting what we're asking for. It's always pinks, but I still feel like this one was pretty unique, and it's a little cooler with the tones. There's more silvers instead of golds, not as much pink shimmers, so this one has still been a favorite, and I do think it's quite different. So those are my comparisons. As you can see, if you guys own a lot of Pat palettes, if you own some of the ones mentioned, this is probably going to be a pass for you. But honestly, if you do not have any of those more pinky toned or the Divine Rose collection, I think this is worth worth checking out. Honestly, it's a really great palette. I think this would actually come in maybe number 2 for my Motherships behind the Moonlit Seduction, because I just love that one so much. But I'm just really impressed with overall quality, blendability. The shimmers in here are beautiful, so I really do enjoy this one a lot. So that's kind of it to wrap up my thoughts here. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and hopefully you found this helpful if you were looking at getting this new palette, because I know Pat's palettes are quite expensive, so you always kind of want to see if it's worth it if you have similar stuff already. But yeah, I know it's repetitive, but it's always good to keep in mind that not everyone owns every single Pat McGrath palette, so there's always going to be something for everyone, and maybe this is the palette for you. But I will let you guys go, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.